Picture this. Tokyo, 1950. A room full of Japanese engineers sitting quietly, taking notes from an American. His name was W. Edwards Deming, and he wasn't teaching them about honor or discipline or anything you'd expect from a country famous for tradition. He was teaching them statistics. Boring, technical, spreadsheet-level statistics. Here's the twist almost nobody mentions when they talk about this. The most Japanese productivity idea in the world, the one that built Toyota, rebuilt an entire economy, and quietly makes ordinary people rich today, didn't start in Japan at all. It started with an American nobody in his own country wanted to listen to. Deming had pitched his ideas to American companies first. They shrugged. Too slow, too small, too boring for a country obsessed with big, dramatic wins. So he took his tiny, unglamorous ideas to Japan instead. And Japan actually listened. Out of that came a word you've probably seen 1,000 times on book covers and LinkedIn posts. Kaizen. It roughly translates to change for the better. And honestly, that's it. That's the whole secret, which is exactly why almost nobody takes it seriously. Kaizen isn't a strategy, it's not a hack, and it's definitely not a 5-step system you buy for $47. It's a habit of ridiculously small improvement, repeated so often it becomes invisible. 1%. That's the whole rule. 1% better every single day. Sounds pathetic, right? A rounding error. Nobody gets rich off 1%. Except the math disagrees with you. Improve by 1% a day for a year, and you don't end up 365% better. You end up 37 times better. 1.01 raised to the power of 365 comes out to roughly 37.78. Not 37%, 37 times over. Out of that came a word you've probably seen 1,000 times on book covers and LinkedIn posts. Kaizen. It roughly translates to change for the better. And honestly, that's it. That's the whole secret, which is exactly why almost nobody takes it seriously. Kaizen isn't a strategy, it's not a hack, and it's definitely not a 5-step system you buy for $47. It's a habit of ridiculously small improvement, repeated so often it becomes invisible. 1%. That's the whole rule. 1% better every single day. Sounds pathetic, right? A rounding error. Nobody gets rich off 1%. Except the math disagrees with you. Improve by 1% a day for a year, and you don't end up 365% better. You end up 37 times better. 1.01 raised to the power of 365 comes out to roughly 37.78. Not 37%, 37 times over. And here's the part people conveniently forget. Get 1% worse every day instead, and you don't just lose a year, you collapse down to about 2.5% of where you started. Almost nothing. That gap between 37 times better and practically zero isn't a motivational poster line. In my opinion, that gap is the entire difference between the people who quietly build wealth over 20 years and the people who stay stuck in the same job, the same salary, the same excuses for that same 20 years.
Toyota built its whole production system around this. Workers on the assembly line, not executives sitting in some glass office, were encouraged to stop the entire production line the second they spotted a flaw. A loose bolt, a slightly wrong angle on a weld. Fix it immediately, even if it costs the company money right then. That sounds insane by traditional business logic. You're losing money on purpose to fix something tiny? But by the 1980s, Toyota was outproducing American car manufacturers while wasting less, spending less, and recalling far fewer vehicles. In 1986, a consultant named Masaki Imai wrote a book called Kaizen, The Key to Japan's Competitive Success. That book is basically the reason the word crossed over into English business schools at all. Before that, most people in the West had never even heard it. Here's the part almost no wealth channel connects to any of this. Not Toyota, not Japan, British cycling. In 2003, a man named Dave Brailsford took over British cycling, and British cycling was, to put it politely, an embarrassment. From 1908 all the way to 2003, 76 years, Britain had won exactly one Olympic gold medal in the entire sport of cycling. One gold in 76 years. Brailsford didn't chase superstar athletes or expensive new bikes. He obsessed over details so small they sound like a joke. What pillow the riders slept on, whether they washed their hands the right way to avoid catching a cold 2 days before a race, the aerodynamics of a single sock. He called it the aggregation of marginal gains, which is, functionally, Kaizen wearing a different accent. By the 2008 Beijing Olympics, British cycling won 8 out of 10 available gold medals. By London 2012, they did it again. That same year, a British rider won the Tour de France for the first time in the race's entire history. A Japanese factory philosophy from the 1950s and a British Olympic program from the 2000s were quietly running the exact same code. Nobody talks about that connection. I find it kind of wild, honestly. So, how does any of this put actual money in your pocket? Not through some dramatic side hustle, not through quitting your job and betting everything on a coin that might be worth zero by Friday. Kaizen applied to money looks almost embarrassingly boring. Raising your retirement contribution by 1% instead of leaving it frozen for 5 years. Asking for a 2% raise instead of assuming you don't deserve to ask at all. Canceling one forgotten subscription and actually redirecting that money into an index fund instead of letting it quietly evaporate into your checking account. None of that makes a good headline. None of that gets you a viral comments section calling you a genius. But run the math. Someone investing $500 a month, starting at age 25, earning the market's long-run average of around 10% a year, crosses $1.5 million by 65. Someone who waits until 35 to start the exact same habit ends up with less than half of that. Same discipline, same amount, 10 years of delay, and compounding punishes them for it brutally. Warren Buffett built something like 99% of his net worth after he turned 50. Not because he suddenly got smarter in his 50s, because compounding needs time far more than it needs brilliance. There's a darker side to this too, and it connects to something we talk about a lot on this channel: lifestyle creep. Every time your income goes up and your spending quietly creeps up right alongside it, you're running this exact compounding math backward against yourself. A 1% daily improvement in spending in the wrong direction wrecks you just as efficiently as it builds someone else up. Here's the thing that bothers me though. A lot of finance creators have turned Kaizen into just another flavor of hustle culture. Squeeze every minute out of your day, never stop improving, wake up at 4 a.m. or you're falling behind. That's not what this was ever about. The whole point of Kaizen at Toyota was the opposite of burnout. It was sustainable, boring, repeatable improvement, not another exhausting self-improvement grind you abandon by February. If your version of this makes you anxious, you're doing it wrong. Those factory workers in Japan weren't chasing perfection. They were just refusing to accept the same small flaw twice. This is roughly the same idea James Clear built an entire career explaining in Atomic Habits. Small habits, compounded, quietly becoming the most powerful force in personal finance. The book just didn't call it by its Japanese name. So the next time someone tells you they want to get rich fast, you might want to ask a different question, not how much they want to earn. Ask them what tiny, boring, unglamorous thing they're willing to repeat every single day for the next 10 years without telling anyone about it. Because that lecture hall in Tokyo back in 1950 wasn't teaching anyone how to get rich overnight. It was teaching them how to never stop, quietly, until one day they looked up and the entire scoreboard had changed. Nobody claps for 1% until it's 37 times bigger than everyone else's effort.